Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into the world of Formula One today.
Ooh.
But not the racing itself.
No.
We're going behind the scenes
Okay.
to those driver contracts. Those super secret agreements
Yeah,
that, well, they shape a driver's entire career.
they really do.
We'll uncover the secrets,
Okay.
like what kind of crazy clauses are hidden in there,
Yeah.
and just how much control does a team really have
Yeah,
over a driver's life.
it's more than you think.
For example,
Okay.
did you know that a driver could actually own their race car
Oh, wow.
as part of their deal?
I did not know that.
It's more common than you might think.
Wow.
So to help us unpack all of this,
Okay.
we have an expert with us
we know.
who just, well, they know the ins and outs of these contracts.
Yeah.
So let's get started, shall we?
Let's do it.
What are the typical components of an F1 driver contract?
Well, at the core, you have the base salary,
Right.
which can range
Oh,
drastically.
I bet.
A rookie might start
Yeah.
around $500,000,
Okay.
while a world champion
Right.
could command, well, upwards of $60 million.
Wow.
But then it gets really interesting
Okay.
with the bonus structure.
Okay.
So teams incentivize performance.
Right.
With clauses tied to
Ooh.
championship points, podium finishes,
Interesting.
even race wins.
Okay. So it's not just about showing up, you got to deliver results.
Exactly.
And speaking of delivering results,
Yeah.
our source material mentioned Sergio Perez
Uh-huh.
and a potential pay cut if he falls
Yeah.
too far behind Verstappen
That's right.
in the standings.
Yep.
So what's the logic behind a clause like that?
Well, these performance-based clauses, they
Right.
protect the team's investment.
Oh.
They're pouring millions
Yeah.
into these drivers
Right.
and need to ensure
Makes sense.
a return.
Right.
It's like these clauses can light a fire
Yeah.
under a driver. Push harder,
Yeah.
strive for those top positions.
Right.
But does raise questions about
Yeah.
healthy competition versus
I see.
unnecessary tension
Right.
within a team.
Yeah, it definitely adds a layer of complexity
It does.
to those teammate dynamics.
Yeah.
And speaking of financial risk,
Okay.
what about crash damage?
Uh-huh.
Does the driver ever have to pay for those?
So in Formula One, it's very rare
Okay.
for a driver to be held
Gotcha.
financially responsible
Okay.
for crash damage.
Yeah.
It's usually
Mm.
absorbed by the team,
Okay.
considering
Right.
the immense value of these
Yeah.
high-tech machines.
Right.
That being said,
Yeah.
there are situations
Right.
where the circumstances of a crash are
Mhm.
scrutinized,
Okay.
particularly if it's
Okay.
deemed avoidable
Right.
or a result of driver error.
Right. So that brings us back to those performance clauses. Yeah. And how a string of costly crashes
Exactly.
could impact a driver's standing
Right.
within the team.
That's right.
But beyond the legalese
Right.
and all the financial details,
Yeah.
I'm curious about those extras
Yeah.
that drivers might negotiate.
Oh, okay.
So what kind of perks have you come across?
Well, that's where things get interesting.
Okay.
We've seen drivers negotiate everything from private jets
Oh, wow.
to luxury accommodations
Okay.
to exclusive events.
I see.
But one fascinating example
Okay.
involves the legendary
Okay.
Nigel Mansell.
Nigel Mansell.
Back in 1990,
Okay.
he negotiated exclusive access
Wow.
to the spare car
Really?
during his time at Williams.
So he essentially had two cars at his disposal.
Yep.
What was the strategy behind that?
Well, it speaks to the leverage
Yeah.
a top-tier driver can command.
Okay.
Mansell understood
Yeah.
that having that dedicated access
Right.
to that spare car would give him a significant advantage
I see.
in practice sessions,
Okay.
allowing him to fine-tune his setup
Gotcha.
and prepare more effectively for races.
It's amazing how these contracts
Yeah.
can delve into such specific details.
They do.
And we've even heard of drivers negotiating cars
Right.
as part of their compensation package.
That's right.
So it's not just about the money, it's
Yeah.
about those
Yeah,
unique advantages.
Yep.
And let's be honest, some pretty cool toys.
that's right.
But let's shift gears
Yes.
and talk about another complex aspect
Yeah.
of these contracts.
Right.
Sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
So teams naturally,
Right.
they want drivers to
Yeah.
promote their brands,
Of course.
but drivers also often seek their own
Yeah.
personal sponsors.
That's right.
So how does that tension play out in these negotiations?
That's where things can get a little tricky.
Okay.
You often see clauses
Mm-hmm.
limiting the number of personal sponsors
Gotcha.
to avoid conflicts
Makes sense.
with team sponsors.
Yeah.
It's all about protecting the team's brand
Right.
and ensuring that
Right.
the driver's endorsements align
I see.
with the team image.
So it's not just about slapping any logo on a helmet.
No,
It's a strategic balancing act.
it really is.
It's like brand Tetris,
Fix that.
trying to fit all those pieces together
Yeah,
in a way that benefits both the driver and the team.
that's right.
And speaking of balancing acts,
Okay.
remember Marcus Ericsson's
Uh,
situation with his glasses?
uh,
He was a fan of Moto Eyewear,
right.
but Ray-Ban
Yeah.
was a team sponsor.
Uh-huh.
That sounds like a clash.
It was.
How did he manage that?
Well, he actually found a clever workaround.
Okay.
So he was allowed to wear his motos in the paddock,
Okay.
but had to sport his Ray-Bans
Oh!
around his neck.
Wow.
It was a compromise
Yeah.
that appeased both
Right.
his personal preference
Right.
and the team sponsor.
That's a perfect example of how these seemingly minor details can become points of negotiation.
Exactly.
It's a constant tug of war
It is.
between individual preferences
Yeah.
and team obligations.
That's right.
And it raises the question,
Okay.
how far do these restrictions go?
Yeah.
How much say does a team really have
Oh,
over a driver's image
okay.
and activities off the track?
That's an area
Okay.
where those contract clauses can get
Yeah.
very specific.
Okay.
Some teams might impose
Okay.
appearance guidelines,
Interesting.
limiting things like
Okay.
hairstyles, tattoos,
Gotcha.
even personal style choices
Wow.
that don't align
I see.
with their brand image.
It's fascinating because you see drivers like Lewis Hamilton
All right.
who are known for their bold fashion choices,
Uh-huh.
while others seem to stick
Yeah.
to a more team-approved look.
Right.
So how does that work?
Well, Hamilton's unique style
Okay.
and his influence on fashion trends
Right.
likely affords him
Yeah.
more flexibility
Okay.
in his contracts.
Gotcha.
You know, teams recognize the value he brings
Yeah.
in terms of brand exposure and media attention.
Right.
So they might be more willing
I see.
to bend the rules
Okay.
to accommodate his unique style,
Makes sense.
recognizing that it
Yeah.
ultimately benefits their image as well.
So even with someone like Hamilton who
Yeah.
pushes the boundaries,
Right.
there's still this overarching
There is.
team influence
Mhm.
makes you wonder what other restrictions
Yeah.
might be lurking
Right.
in those contracts. Like,
There have been instances
Yeah.
where teams have restricted
okay.
drivers from certain activities
Okay.
outside of racing
Gotcha.
to prevent injury.
To prevent injury.
Yeah.
Like,
Remember Pablo Montoya's?
Pablo Montoya
Right.
alleged motocross incident.
That was a big story.
It was.
He claimed it was a tennis injury,
Right.
but a lot of people suspected it was
Yeah.
from his off-track hobby.
Exactly.
And his team boss at the time,
Yeah.
Ron Dennis,
On Dennis, yeah.
had that famous line,
Oh, yeah.
if you don't drive,
Yeah.
you don't get paid.
Exactly.
So it highlights the delicate balance
it does.
between a driver's
Yeah.
personal freedom
Right.
and the team's investment
Uh-huh.
in their well-being.
It's a high-stakes game.
It is.
Those contracts impact
Yeah,
virtually every aspect of
Yeah.
a driver's life,
both on and off the track.
on and off the track.
But what happens when a driver wants out
Yeah.
of a contract?
Oh.
Are they trapped? Or are there
Yeah.
ways to break free?
That's where things can get really complicated.
Okay.
Contracts often include
Yeah.
what's called,
A right of first refusal clause,
okay,
which means
Yeah.
if a driver gets an offer
right,
from another team,
okay,
their current team has the option
I see.
to match it.
So it's like a bidding war,
It is.
but the current team
Yeah,
always has the first move.
exactly.
But we also see
Okay.
negotiated exits
Uh-huh.
where both parties agree
Yeah,
to part ways,
that's right.
often involving a financial settlement.
Uh-huh.
Remember Daniel Ricciardo's departure from McLaren?
That was a pretty
That was a pretty high-profile exit.
That profile, yeah.
It seemed like a fresh start
It
was needed for everyone.
Yes.
So sometimes that's the best outcome.
It's-
Even with contracts in place, it
Right.
comes down to human dynamics
Exactly.
and finding solutions
Yeah.
that benefit both sides.
That's right.
It reminds us
Yeah.
that there's a human element to
Uh,
all of this.
There is.
Even with all the legal and financial intricacies.
Absolutely.
Speaking of those rising stars,
Yeah.
what kind of clauses
Yeah.
might they try to negotiate?
Well, for up-and-coming drivers,
Okay.
securing opportunities for
Yeah.
growth and development is key.
Okay, so less about the immediate financial gains.
Yes.
More about setting themselves up
Exactly.
for long-term success.
That's right.
And it goes beyond just the written clauses.
It does. Good.
Having a strong manager
Yeah.
who understands these intricacies, can advocate for their interests,
Yeah.
is invaluable.
It is.
Someone like
yeah.
Mark Webber,
Mark Webber.
who manages Oscar Piastri.
That's right.
Webber brings a wealth of experience
Nice.
and understanding of the sport.
Yes.
It's been reported that he insured
Ah.
Piastri's contract,
Yeah.
explicitly stated that he's not to be treated as a second driver.
Exactly.
It highlights the importance
It does.
of having that experienced voice in your corner,
Yeah.
someone who knows
Oh,
how to
right.
navigate the complexities of these contracts
Yeah.
and the often cutthroat nature of F1.
It's a tough world.
It's not just about the written word.
Yeah.
It's about those unspoken agreements,
Yeah.
the behind-the-scenes negotiations, and the constant speculation surrounding these secretive contracts.
That's what makes it so fascinating.
It's like a whole other race
It is.
happening off the track.
Exactly.
Drivers, teams, and managers
Yeah.
all vying for the best possible position.
That's F1.
And we've only just begun to
Okay.
scratch the surface
Right.
of this fascinating world.
Yeah.
We'll dive even deeper into this world of F1 driver contracts.
Okay.
After a quick break,
Sounds good.
stay with us.
All right. Welcome back. We've been exploring these driver contracts.
Oh, you have.
And it's amazing how much goes on behind the scenes.
These contracts really are like blueprints
They are.
for a driver's journey in Formula One.
That's a good way to put it.
And they have to account for
Yeah.
all sorts of scenarios.
Right.
So teams need to protect
Yeah.
their investments,
Of
their
course.
image,
Yeah.
which is why you see clauses that address,
Right.
well, everything,
Yeah.
from performance to conduct. For
Exactly.
instance, there's often this disrepute clause
Oh, yeah.
that's discussed.
That's a big one.
Well,
So,
what exactly does a disrepute clause cover,
Yep.
and what kind of actions
right.
could trigger it?
Well, this clause is designed to safeguard
Oh.
the team's reputation
Okay.
should a driver engage in conduct
Right.
that could bring the team
Mm-hmm.
into disrepute.
I see.
So it's a way to protect the team from scandals, public outbursts,
Right.
even criminal charges
Wow.
that could tarnish their brand image.
So it's not just about avoiding a wild night out.
No.
It's about maintaining a certain standard of behavior
Exactly.
that aligns with the team's values
Right.
and their sponsors.
Ah.
Think back to 2009,
Right.
when Nelson Piquet Jr.
Oh, yeah.
deliberately crashed
He did.
his Renault
Yeah.
at the direction of the team.
At the direction of the team.
The
That
scandal
huge scandal.
had a massive impact
It did.
on Renault's reputation,
Right.
and it led to severe penalties.
Yeah.
So a disrepute clause
Yeah.
allows teams to distance themselves
Right.
from actions like that
Exactly.
and protect their brand.
All about the brand.
It's a stark reminder of how a driver's actions can have far-reaching consequences for
Yeah.
the entire team.
It's a team sport.
It's a high-stakes game.
It is.
Both on and off the track.
That's right.
Speaking of high stakes,
Okay.
let's talk about
Yeah.
performance-related clauses. Can a team terminate a contract
Right.
simply because a driver's underperforming?
Underperformance is a sensitive issue,
Okay.
but it can be addressed
Right.
within the contract.
Okay.
It's not as simple as saying,
Yeah.
if you don't win, you're out.
Right.
Contracts usually outline
Okay.
specific performance targets.
Okay.
And if a driver consistently fails
Uh-huh.
to meet those targets,
Yeah.
well, it can trigger discussions
I see.
about their future with the team.
So it's more about setting realistic expectations and
That's-
having clear metrics
Uh-huh.
to evaluate performance.
Exactly.
But how do you measure performance
Right.
fairly
That's the question.
in a sport
Yeah.
where drivers have different cars
Of course.
and different levels of team support?
That's where things get tricky.
Okay.
Contracts might factor in things like
Okay.
qualifying performance relative to their teammate,
Mm-hmm.
consistency in race results, even their contribution
Right.
to car development.
So it's a complex equation.
It is.
And there's
Oh,
always room
Oh, yeah.
for debate.
Always.
It seems like striking that balance
Yeah.
between objectivity
Uh-huh.
and the realities of the
Yeah.
sport is crucial.
It's very important.
But sometimes,
Yeah.
despite everyone's best efforts,
Okay.
things just don't work out.
That's right.
How do these contracts handle
Situation-
situations where a driver wants out,
Right.
even with time left on their agreement?
Well, as we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
contracts often include
Yeah.
those right of first refusal clauses.
Okay. They give the current team
Right.
the first opportunity
Uh-huh.
to match any offers
Yeah,
a driver receives from other teams.
that's right.
So it helps maintain some level
Understood.
of stability.
Yep.
It's a way to keep the driver market
Exactly.
from turning into a free-for-all.
Right.
But what if a driver
Okay.
is truly unhappy and wants a fresh start,
Uh-huh.
regardless of other offers?
Right.
Do they have any leverage?
That's where the art of negotiation
I
comes
bet.
in.
I see.
Sometimes a negotiated exit,
Right.
often involving a financial settlement,
Yeah.
is the best solution
Okay.
for all parties involved.
Remember Daniel Ricciardo's departure
Oh, yeah.
from McLaren?
That was a big one.
That was a high-profile example where
Right.
it seemed like the relationship
Yeah.
had just run its course.
It did.
And it highlights the fact
Yeah.
that these contracts,
Uh-huh.
while legally binding,
They are.
also involve
Yeah.
human emotions and aspirations.
It's about people
Exactly.
at the end of the day.
Sometimes parting ways,
Yeah.
even with financial implications,
Yeah.
is better
It can be.
for both the driver's career
Uh-huh.
and the team's overall performance.
That's right.
It's about finding that right balance.
It is a balancing act.
It's a reminder that there's a human element at
Oh,
play
right.
in this complex
Yeah.
contractual world.
It's a complex world.
But let's shift gears and talk about those drivers
Yeah.
who are on the rise.
The up-and-comers.
The ones who haven't reached
Right.
superstar status,
Yeah.
but are showing incredible potential.
Lots of potential.
So what kind of clauses
Oh,
might they prioritize?
well, for up-and-coming drivers,
Yeah.
it's all about securing
Okay,
opportunities for growth
right.
and development.
So less about immediate financial gains,
Yeah.
more about setting themselves up
Exactly.
for long-term success.
Long term.
So they're looking for signs of
Yeah.
commitment from the team,
Right.
clauses that demonstrate
Uh-huh.
a belief in their potential, a
Right.
willingness to invest
That's
in their development.
Yeah.
It's like they're negotiating for a roadmap
Right.
to help them navigate
Yeah.
the F1 landscape.
It's a tough landscape.
And speaking of navigating,
Okay.
I imagine having a skilled manager
Yeah.
becomes crucial
Oh, absolutely.
at this stage of their career.
Very important.
Someone like Mark Webber,
Mark Webber.
who manages Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
He brings that firsthand experience from his
Right.
own
Yeah.
F1 career.
Exactly.
Webber's understanding of the sport,
Uh-huh.
the politics, the
Yeah.
pressure
Right, yeah.
allows him to be
Yeah.
a strong advocate for his driver.
It does.
He knows the pitfalls,
He does.
and he can help Piastri
Yeah.
navigate them.
Exactly.
It's been reported that he even negotiated a clause
Right.
stating that Piastri
Yeah.
wouldn't be treated as a second driver.
That's a good clause.
That makes sense,
It does.
especially given Webber's own experiences as
Right.
a teammate
Yeah.
to Sebastian Vettel
Uh-huh.
at Red Bull.
Tough teammate.
He's using his past
He is.
to shape Piastri's future.
That's what a good manager does.
It's a perfect example of
Wow.
how a manager's experience
Mhm.
and strategic thinking
Uh-huh.
can shape a driver's trajectory.
It really can.
They're not just negotiating contracts,
No.
they're shaping careers.
That's right.
It all adds another layer
It does.
of complexity to this
Right.
world of F1 contracts.
Lots of layers.
It's not just
Mhm.
about the legal terms.
Right.
It's about the relationships,
Yeah.
the strategies,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
behind-the-scenes maneuvering.
That's all a game.
You hit the nail on the head.
I did.
These contracts are just the tip
They are.
of the iceberg.
Right.
They're a window into
Yeah.
the intricate web of relationships
Exactly.
and power dynamics
It's a power game.
that drive this sport.
That's F1.
It's a reminder that Formula One
Yeah.
is as much about
Right.
what happens off the track as it
Uh-huh.
is about the on-track action.
That's right.
We've covered a lot of ground
We have.
in this deep dive,
Yeah.
from performance clauses to driver exits.
Uh-huh.
But there's still so much
Right.
to explore,
Right.
especially when it comes to those unusual contract clauses,
Oh, yeah.
the ones that have made headlines
Right.
over the year.
Like
Which
crazy ones out there.
those are definitely areas we need to explore.
We do.
And I have a feeling
Well,
they'll
lurking.
reveal even more
Yeah.
fascinating insights
I think so.
into this world
Right.
of F1 driver contracts.
Let's do it.
So let's take a moment
Okay.
to gather our thoughts
All right.
before we delve into
Yeah.
intriguing details.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive
Why?
into the world of F1 driver contracts.
Yeah.
We've explored those core elements,
Right.
the performance pressures, even those tricky
Yeah.
exit strategies.
Right.
But now it's time to uncover
Just
some of
kinda-
those more.
Unusual clauses.
The fun stuff.
Those fascinating details that reveal
Yeah.
how much these agreements impact a driver's life, both on and off the track.
It's incredible.
It's amazing
Yeah.
how these contracts can
Right.
delve into the minutiae,
The minutiae.
covering aspects you might never
Yeah.
even consider.
I don't think about it.
It's a testament to the level of control and image management
Right.
that's at play
Yeah.
in Formula One.
It's a brand.
We've heard whispers about
Oh, yeah.
everything from restrictions on
Okay.
facial hair
Official hair.
to demands for
Yeah.
specific types of food.
Interesting.
Are those just rumors?
Well-
Have you actually encountered clauses like that?
While those examples might
Yeah.
be a bit exaggerated, there have definitely been instances where teams attempted to control
Uh-huh.
aspects of a driver's appearance
Okay.
that they felt didn't align
Yeah.
with their brand image. Right.
Remember a few years back
Yeah.
when there were rumors about a team
Yeah.
wanting to ban beards
Really?
because they didn't fit their aesthetic?
That's incredible.
It
It
is.
shows how deeply invested these
Yeah.
teams are
Right.
in shaping their public perception
It's all about the brand.
and ensuring that their drivers project
Uh-huh.
that specific image.
For a right image.
But how do you reconcile
Just
that
this.
level of control
Yeah.
with a driver's individuality,
It's tough.
especially in a sport that attracts
Right.
such strong personality?
Unique personality.
It's a constant balancing act.
It is.
Teams want uniformity,
They do.
brand consistency,
Yeah.
but they also recognize
Right.
that drivers are individuals
Of course.
with their own style and preferences.
People too.
It often comes down to
Yeah.
negotiation
Right.
and finding that middle ground
Finding that balance.
where a driver can express themselves
While still adhering to certain guidelines.
to compromise.
Lewis Hamilton, for instance,
Yeah.
is known for his bold fashion choices,
He is.
his willingness to push those boundaries.
He pushes it.
Yeah.
Do you think his contracts?
Well, given his status
Okay.
as a global icon,
Right.
his influence on fashion trends,
Yeah.
it's highly likely that his contracts
Uh-huh.
afford him more flexibility
Right.
in those areas.
Right.
Teams understand the value he brings in terms
Yeah.
of brand exposure, media attention.
Makes sense.
They might be more willing to bend the rules
Right.
to accommodate his unique style,
Okay.
recognizing that it ultimately benefits their image as well.
It's a fascinating example
It is.
of how a driver's star power
Uh-huh.
and influence
Yeah.
can impact
Right.
those contractual details.
Yeah, connected.
But beyond
Yeah.
the realm of personal appearance.
Yeah, I'm curious about those clauses
Okay.
that address
Yeah.
the end of a driver's career.
Right.
What happens when a driver decides to
Yeah.
hang up their helmet?
Hang up the helmet.
Are there restrictions on what they can do?
That's where gardening leave
Gardening leave.
comes into play.
Okay.
These clauses,
Mhm.
common in F1 contracts,
Right.
prevent drivers from
Okay.
immediately joining rival teams
Gotcha.
or sharing sensitive information
Thanks, sir.
after their contract expires.
So it's essentially
Yeah.
a cooling off period
Exactly.
to protect a team's
Right.
intellectual property,
Uh-huh.
competitive advantage.
It's a big deal.
How long does this gardening leave typically last?
The duration can vary
Yeah.
depending on the
gotcha.
driver's seniority
Uh-huh.
and the sensitivity of the information
Okay.
they possess.
Gotcha.
It could range from a few months
Oh.
to even a year
Wow.
in some cases.
Wow.
It's all
Yeah.
carefully negotiated,
Great.
outlined in the contract.
So it's another example of how these agreements extend far beyond
They do.
a driver's time behind the wheel.
That's right.
But what about those drivers
Good.
who want to stay involved
Yeah.
in motorsport
Right.
after their racing career ends?
After they retire.
Are there limitations on their
Just
post-retirement
retirement, yeah.
activities?
You'll often find clauses
Okay.
that restrict a driver's involvement
Okay.
in competing racing series
Okay.
or even broadcasting roles
Interesting.
that could conflict
I see.
with their former team's interests.
Right.
For example,
Okay.
if a driver wanted to become
Yeah.
a commentator
Okay.
for a rival TV network,
Right.
they might need to seek approval
Wow.
from their former team first
So even
Oh.
after they've retired from driving,
Right,
those
yeah.
contractual obligations,
can still influence
they can.
their career choices.
That's right.
It really shows
Yeah.
how deeply ingrained
Right.
these agreements are
Yeah.
in Formula One.
It's part of the game.
That's the nature of this high-stakes world.
High stakes.
Everything is interconnected.
Uh-huh.
These contracts serve as a framework
A framework.
for managing those complex relationships
It's complicated.
and protecting the interests
Right.
of both the drivers
Right.
and the teams.
It's a partnership.
We've only just begun
We had.
to understand the intricacies
Yeah.
of F1 driver contracts.
Right.
There's so much more
I know.
to uncover.
Right.
So many fascinating details
Yeah.
hidden within those
Uh-huh.
carefully crafted clauses.
All the secrets.
It's a world that never ceases to amaze.
It's amazing.
The level of detail,
Right.
the strategic maneuvering,
Maneuvering.
the human stories behind those agreements
Yeah.
make it a captivating subject
It's fascinating.
for anyone interested
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the inner workings
Right.
of Formula One.
The business of F1.
It leaves us with plenty
It does.
to ponder,
Right.
even after
Yeah.
the checkered flag falls.
The checkered flag.
On this episode,
we explored the fundamentals.
We have the pressures, the exit strategies,
Yeah.
and those intriguing clauses
yes.
that reveal just how far-reaching
Yeah.
these contracts can be.
They are far-reaching.
It's a reminder
It is.
that Formula One
Right.
is about so much more
It is.
than what we see on
Yeah.
the track.
So much more.
These contracts provide a glimpse
A glimpse.
into the intricate web
It's a web.
of relationships,
Yeah.
power dynamics,
It's all about power.
behind-the-scenes negotiations
Right.
that shape
Right.
the sport we love.
The sport we love.
So if you were an F1 driver,
What would your
Okay.
non-negotiable clause be?
ooh, good question.
What perk or protection
Protection. Yeah,
would you insist on having in your contract?
that's a tough one.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Okay.
Share your thoughts with us
Yeah.
on social media
Social media.
using hashtag F1 contract dreams.
I like it.
Until next time.
Or
Remember,
Okay.
it's not just about speed and skill
Right.
in Formula One.
Right.
It's about those contracts
Those
that
contracts.
set the stage
Yeah.
for those epic battles
Epic battles.
on the track.
That's F1